All right, guys, so we're going to hop into Euro GBP and just kind of go over some charting analysis and talk about how we would apply our position sizing in this trade. Now, we always advise our traders not to risk more than 1 to 2% of your total account balance, and we have a very strategic way in how we manage risk in the academy with our students. So with this example, the very first thing is you notice that we're on the daily. So I always like to start on the daily or higher time frame. I like to swing trade and also scalp. So it doesn't matter whether I'm scalping or swing trading, I'm usually looking at the market from the higher time frame. Sometimes I like to go out to the weekly and just get an overall picture of what's going on in the market. Is it trending upward, downward? As you can see, we are in a downtrend still on the weekly. However, we have transitioned into an uptrend on the daily. So now that price has broken our downtrend structure, which is right here. So we're going to outline, this was our previous downtrend here. And you can see that the market was giving us lower highs and lower lows. So previously, if we scroll left, you can see that market was ascending upward. And then it came to a high, right? Came to a high, actually gave us a low, came and gave us another high, but not higher than this previous high. And then that is where it started to transition and move lower. Broke this previous low, price continued to move lower, came back, gave us a new low, gave us a lower high, and then we continue the market structure. So notice we came and printed a new low here. Price consolidated for a few days and then pushed back up. So at this point, we did see some high impact news that also caused part of this change as well and what we're looking at right now. But you can see that price actually recently just broke this structure. So now that our downtrend structure has been broken, we have to switch our bias. So now that we're switching our bias, we are transitioning from a downtrend to an uptrend. So we're going to grab our trend line. We are going to just draw our trend out here. So we have two lows that are connecting to our trend line so far. We see that price has broken a previous structure, so we are going to highlight that. You can see that that previous resistance was also previous support as well in this area here. And also if I just kind of stretch it out, this is an area. So we want to keep our eye on this area because usually when market structures have been broken, price will usually return to that previous structure of that level of previous structure that was broken, and it will retest that area. So now that we're seeing this impulse to the upside, what I expect going into next week is for this price to give us a correction. So you can see that this is serving as our future support, which we expect, and price is headed toward this resistance right here. So I predict that this is where we will see the market turn around, give us a correction that will also probably be a bullish flag. So we will look for that correction back into a previous area of structure, and then we will look for that potential trend continuation. So what we're going to be doing is monitoring this area, this level on the lower time frame for an opportunity and looking for our entry criteria rules once it lines up. Now, guys, when it comes to your position sizing, know that there is no rule for what you should be doing when it comes to your position sizing, but it comes down to your tolerance for risk. What are you comfortable risking based on what you can afford to lose? And so I always recommend that you not risk more than 1 to 2% of your total account. But if you were going to take a trade on Euro GBP, for example, how would you approach this trade? So everyone is different. You're going to have to figure out what your style is and kind of implement from there, document your analysis and see if you come out correct. But I like to go in especially when the market is in my favor. So I counter trend trade, but I also especially am more confident in my setup when the directional bias is in my favor. So for example, if we have a market that's given us higher highs and higher lows, of course, I want to enter on a higher low when that market gives me a pullback into a nice structure level where I'm getting a great deal. I always need to be getting a great deal. And when I am getting a great deal and all of my entry criteria rules align, I will go in that trade. So if I'm looking for a potential entry back into this structure here, let's say if I have a $20,000 account and I'm looking to risk no more than 2% of that total account and I have no open trades. So I can risk quite a bit, right? I'm going to take a fraction of my lot size. And one of the things that I see here is I like to use the 50 MA for directional as well. You can see it is getting ready to cross our daily here on, but I would be using this on the lower time frame. So if I were to jump down to the 4 hour, for example, once that price pulls back, you can see that on the 4 hour, we will be looking for a retest back into this previous structure and for price to be above the 50 MA. If I get that confirmation on the lower time frame and I know that this 50 MA is also acting as dynamic support, if I'm right, then I'm always planning, number one, I need to know that my upside potential outweighs my downside. So when it comes to position sizing, there's a few things or rules that you need to put in place that make you feel comfortable. For myself, I want to know that my upside outweighs my downside, a percentage of that. Also, too, I'm looking at is the directional bias in my favor, right? So if I have a market that's giving me higher highs and higher lows on the daily, then I'm going to be looking to take advantage of that. So I may go in with a fraction of my lot, but if I see a market that is growing and that's positive for Euro GBP, then I'm going to feel comfortable adding more to my position. So what I like to do is I usually will add a few positions if I'm comfortable, or I'm always planning for worst case scenario where, okay, if I know that this price could drop about 20 pips or 30 pips down to the 50 MA and we still are overall in an uptrend on the daily, then I will plan for another position possibly to go in at a different area. So you want to have all this planned out ahead of time, because the earlier you can plan your entries, your stops, your targets, you're not going to make those mistakes that are going to be costly when you're in the middle of trying to take a trade. So say, for example, my first position, I can always go in with 0 to 10%, right? Sometimes I like to do two positions at a lower position size as the market moves in my favor. So as the market starts to move in my favor, I'm always locking in profit. So I like to remove a portion of my profits off the table. So if I go to the daily and we just kind of look at where's price headed right now, well, you can see exactly where it's headed. This is our next reversal zone here on the daily. So I'm going to clone this, and if I just bring it right to this resistance here, you'll see that this is an area that was previous resistance. It was also previous support. So here you always want to bring it out to the wicks. You can see that this was support. Look how much the market moved. This was resistance, and look how much the market moved. And this was also resistance, and look how much the market moved. So in that case, I want to be adding on to my position when the market is in my favor. I don't want to be for example, let's say you're selling against the overall uptrend right now on the daily, right? And you're just shorting because you believe that, oh, it's going to start going downward. But there's no indication of that right now. We can see that this is a strong impulse move to the upside, and we don't know if that impulse is finished right now. So why would you want to keep adding to your position when you don't have confirmation? So you always want to make sure you have confirmation. You want to be adding on your position in a market that's growing, and you want to have your percentage of your risk already worked out. So know, for example, where you're going to use maybe 0 to 2% of your risk, maybe where you're going to use 2 to 3% of your risk, whatever that percentage is that's comfortable for you. I always recommend you have a percentage or a daily dollar amount that you are comfortable risking on every trade that you take. You have to know before you get into the trade, if anything goes wrong, where am I going to cut my loss and get out? Okay. So just remember that when you are adding on to your position, especially in an uptrend, you want to make sure that the directional bias is in your favor. The market is moving in your favor. You're seeing a market that is giving you the signs of upside potential. So in this case with Euro GBP, we see that it is now growing. What do we want to do? Do we want to chase it right now? Absolutely not. We want to wait for a pullback, all right? A pullback into a previous structure where it's a great deal and all of our entry criteria rules align, where we can go in and take advantage of this growth. So in order for us to attract buyers back into the market for Euro GBP, we need this price to pull back into a previous area that will become future support. More buyers will get in and ride that growth. So guys, there are just a few rules that you want to put in place. You don't want to just place trades and just go in blindly. When you go in blindly, you're putting yourself at a great risk. You need to have a calculated system that you're following each and every time and know what percentage of your position size are you going to have add on, and also always have a max risk. You don't want to just keep adding on positions, and before you know it, you're blowing your account. So you want to have a plan and a calculated system. I hope that this was helpful for you. Basically, if you follow those rules and keep yourself, work on consistency and discipline, you will feel very comfortable in knowing where to add on to your position, but never add on to a losing position, hoping that it will turn around, because the market will usually just keep going. You want to make sure that the market is in your favor, that growth is in your favor. You always have a plan for worst case scenario, and you're using a fraction of your overall position sizing. All right. If you guys are new or struggling traders, I highly recommend you check out our academy. We provide structure and guidance and so much value in our academy. I know without a doubt we are one of the best in the market, and we've gotten so much feedback and testimonials from students. You can check out all the information in the description below. I hope you find this content helpful. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you guys don't miss the next upload, and I'll see you guys in the next training video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.